Okay, first I just want to say that I'm going to be playing the remastered version of Sonic Generations. And yes, I did play the original Sonic Generations before this, so don't worry, I know how the original game plays. But this one's just a lot more better and has a lot more improvements and it looks better, so we're just going to be playing this version today. And I also have a lot to say in this video, so sit back, eat some popcorn, and enjoy the video. So a new move that wasn't there for Classic Sonic in the original game is that he has a drop dash. And also for Modern Sonic also has the drop dash, which is kind of weird considering that it doesn't really make sense for Modern Sonic. I mean, it does for Classic Sonic, but it doesn't for Modern Sonic. I think that's because, Sonic Frontiers had it, and they were trying to apply it to all the 3D games, so I think that's what they were trying to go for. And this is also the same thing for the Sonic Generations 2011 version, is that this game looks really gorgeous. Like, this game just looks amazing. The shadows, the UI, just everything. The levels look amazing. Like, I don't even know what to say. Even if you play the 2011 version, it still looks really good and it ages really well. As soon as you start the game, there's no cutscene in sight. You just start playing as Classic Sonic in Green Hill. And this stage is, it's a normal first stage. It's nothing to be mind-blown about. But for Modern Sonic, his stage is basically like a tutorial for the rest of the game, like for the rest of the levels. And I want to talk about Modern Sonic here, because he does have some different moves, well, he's definitely different from Classic Sonic since he's in 3D than 2D. Modern Sonic kind of works the same as he did from Sonic Unleashed, but he does have some different controls in that game. Like, some of the buttons aren't really the same as that game. And the level design is a lot more forgiving than Sonic Unleashed, where that level design was really crazy, and it could sometimes be really fun just going through everything and timing the right jumps at the right time, and it's pretty fun here. It might not be as fun as Sonic Unleashed, but it is fun in its own way. And also, the QTE thing is different from Sonic Unleashed, because here, you actually have to move the analog stick a bunch of times in order to, put more into your boost gauge, which is a lot more better than just pressing a bunch of buttons on your Xbox controller, PlayStation, or whatever you're playing on. I don't know if this is a hot take or not. It probably is, but I think the Modern Sonic levels are better than the classic levels. I don't know if that's just a really crazy take, or that's just really bad. Come on, you have to like the classic levels. And yes, I do like the classic levels. They're really fun in my opinion. But I feel like boosting as Modern Sonic is a lot more fun. But after Green Hill, which was a really good pick from Sonic 1, there's Chemical Plant. And this is another really good pick from Sonic 2. It was the second zone of that game, and it was really fun. It was like a completely different area. It felt like really unique. It was really good. I really like the level design in that level, and here I still think it's as good as it. For the classic level, it's pretty similar to the one from Sonic 2. There wasn't anything that really made this one different from it, besides its design, but even that is still similar to the original. And the original wasn't bad, so I'm okay with them reusing it, but it's kind of just a thing where the level is just kind of forgettable, because it's the same thing doing it over again. But it isn't a bad stage, it's just kind of underwhelming though. But it is a really good pick from Sonic 2. Chemical Plant was really fun in that game, and it's still fun here. Okay, now we're going to talk about the skill shop, and the things in the skill shop, I'm not going to talk about every single thing you can have in the skill shop, but you can have Supersonic once you complete the final boss, and you can also have an extra life, and a shield, and extra boost gauge for Modern Sonic, and once you get all the red rings, for Classic Sonic you can have the homing attack, which is a really cool ability for Classic Sonic. this is one of the things that wasn't even in Sonic Unleashed, but in here, and they did a really good job, so I really like the skill shop in this game. Now we're going to talk about the modern act of Chemical Plant. And this level is both good and bad. Well, it's not bad to the point where it ruins the level. It's definitely, not, bad, but there are some parts in this level I don't really like. There are a lot of 2D sections in this level, and, 2D isn't really, bad for me in general, but since Classic Sonic is already in this game, then what's the point of really having 2D for Modern Sonic? And this goes for all the Modern Sonic levels. There's always 2D section for, Modern Sonic for every level in this game. No matter what level you're playing, there's always going to be a 2D section. You don't see Classic Sonic going into 3D every 2 seconds. Anyways, for this act though, there are a lot of more platforming, and there's a lot more secret paths in this level than Green Hill Act 2, so I really like that. And this level, actually catches on fire near the end of the level, which I think is really dang cool. Also, there's a lot of paths in the 2D sections, and I know that I already said there are a lot of paths, but it's for both sections. 3D section of this level, the 2D section of this level, they all have a lot of paths which are really fun to go through and speedrun if you like to replay levels. And definitely by a landslide, I think Act 2 is better than Act 1. Act 1 isn't really bad, but it's not the most memorable in my opinion. But Act 2 is a lot more fun in my opinion. But now we're going to talk about Classic Sky Sanctuary, and this is probably the most complex classic level in the whole entire game. But the level itself, the pick, is from Sonic and Knuckles, which is the second half of Sonic 3. And to be honest though, I think Sky Sanctuary is a little bit of a weird choice, because I can name a bunch of other better levels than Sky Sanctuary, because there are a lot cooler levels in that, in Sonic 3, there's Lava Reef. I can't say all of them because some of them are copyrighted and stuff, so you wouldn't want to use that. But my examples are Hydro City, Launch Base, Sandopolis, and Flying Battery Zone. Those are some pretty good picks for Sonic 3 and Knuckles though. Anyways, the level itself, the reason why I said it was complex earlier is that, there are so many different things you can do in this level. The level is, turning, it's, going all over the place. It's so dang cool. You could definitely not do this back in Sonic 3. And it's just amazing how much 2D Sonic has evolved. And the Modern Act is also pretty good. All the Sonic Generations levels are pretty good. Except Planet Wisp, but we'll definitely get to that later though. But in general, this is a nice reimagining of Sky Sanctuary in 3D. And yeah, this level is completely harmless. It's really fun, and yeah, there isn't really that much to say about this level besides me saying that it's really good and fun. But next is the Metal Sonic fight, and yes, there are missions in this game, but we'll get to that later, okay? Don't worry, I didn't forget about the missions. But the Metal Sonic fight is really fun, and it's really cool seeing Stardust Speedway in Sonic Generations, even though Sonic CD didn't even get a stage. But for DLC, they should have done a Stardust Speedway level. That would have been so cool to see in the game. But we got no DLC in this game, sadly. But, except for a Casino Night DLC thing. But we'll talk about it later, okay? We'll talk about all of it later, okay? Don't worry, guys. I'm not gonna forget. And as a first fight, this boss is really cool to see. Metal Sonic wasn't really in that much games after Sonic CD. So seeing him in Sonic Generations, for Sonic's past, is really cool. And what's also really cool is the Death Egg robot from Sonic 2. And, it was obviously easier than that fight because he had no rings. But now, at least we have rings now, which I really like. The goal is to go under Eggman and hit him behind his back. And it's pretty easy. But this boss actually has 2 phases. And then he stomps and then you go flying. and then you have to create a bomb for him to punch, and then he gets stunned for a little bit, and then you can jump on his hand to, well, defeat him and get some hits on him. So as you can obviously tell, this fight is definitely different from Sonic 2, and I had actually really like this one better than the one in Sonic 2, and I actually like the Metal Sonic fight than the original, which the original wasn't even a fight, it was just a race. Yeah, so both fights are fun, and they're good, and yeah, they're both good and nice. And I actually really like Classic Speed Highway. And let me tell you why. The reason why I think this is a really good level was because of like the atmosphere of it. Like, you can literally see cars going by in the background. Like, Sonic Advance 3 didn't have that, but I mean, it was a Game Boy Advance game, so it couldn't have all of that on the screen. But it is a really cool thing to see, like, cars, like, going in and out of the background. And also, there's a lot of platforming, and you can even go on a rocket, and even inside of a hotel. Like, it's so cool. Like, I mean, Green Hill and Chemical Plant were, like, pretty cool levels for Classic Sonic, but Sky Sanctuary, Speed Highway, and the levels, like, after, like, those levels, they're just so good, and it's so fun. The actual pick itself, which is, like, obviously from Sonic Adventure, I think this is a pretty good pick from Sonic Adventure. Before this, I did think maybe Emerald Coast or a different level from Sonic Adventure would be cooler, but after like playing Sonic Adventure, I feel like this pick is pretty good for it too. But I mean, there was Red Mountain and some other cool types of levels from that game, so this pick wasn't like the best out of all of it, but I mean, it is still a pretty good pick, so I can't complain. Okay, now it's time to talk about the red rings for this game. And the red rings are pretty fun to collect. Like, in this game, the levels are really fun to play, well, replay too. And you can't get all the red rings all in one run, because there are different paths. Well, a lot of different paths, so it'd be basically impossible to, like, go through all the paths to get all the red rings at one time. So the game encourages you to replay the levels since they're fun, and I am perfectly good with that. And this wasn't in the 2011 version, but there's Chow all over the levels now, so there's extra things you can collect now, which is even more fun. But they don't do anything besides hang out in the hub world. But now we're going to talk about Modern Sonic Speed Highway. And this level is insanely crazy. Just like the classic version, Modern Sonic is seen running through a highway and boosting along. But this is one of my favorite levels in the game. Like, this is so much fun. Like, there's literally a secret path at the beginning of the level. If you jump over this dash pan, you can actually skip a little bit of the level and skip this hotel part that I'm in here. I didn't do it right now because I just want to show you guys like as much of the level as you can, but it is a really cool trick and it's really useful for speedrunners. I mean, this level is just so fun to explore, just play through in general, and this goes for every single level, except we're playing a Wisp, but we'll get to that later. Don't worry, I didn't forget about that. I won't forget about it, okay? Trust me, I'm gonna go through everything about this game. I mean, maybe not everything, but I'll talk about most things that you would want to hear. And then there are some things remade from the original Sonic Adventure. Like, there's a speed scene where you go on a building and then you run down it. And, I mean, I always thought this part was pretty cool. I mean, the remix wasn't really that good as the original music. The original music was really good. But this part is pretty short, just like the original though. But after that, there is no like dawn area. Like the sky isn't like, it doesn't look like it's gonna be like the morning. It still looks like nighttime, which is a little concerning. But in the background, you can see a little light, but to be honest, I feel like they forgot a little bit. Real quick, I just want to talk about the casino DLC, just like I said earlier. And this DLC is fine. I mean, it's like a pinball DLC. It's on natural level, sadly. I mean, the 3DS version got it, and even though they literally reused the level for Classic Sonic, it still was pretty cool to see different levels from the 3DS version. But that version was rushed. But we'll get to that in the review that I already made, so go check it out. But in general, though, I really wish this game got DLC. Like, it would have been so cool. And also, another thing I want to say about the Casino Night DLC is that you can also play as Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic, and they both have their different abilities, and Classic Sonic has the spin dash, and Modern Sonic has the boost, just like the normal game, so there isn't really too much to say here, but it is cool they have their own abilities in the pinball, so it makes it a lot more interesting. Now for Classic City Escape, and this level is really good. I mean, the music is so dang good. I know I haven't really been talking about the remixes, but this one is really good. Like, I really like the remix here. Like, they all did a good job. Whoever worked on the music for this game, well, the people who did, they did a really good job. So, good job to them. But here, it is so good. I really like the music in this level. And the level itself is really fun. Like, the crazy thing about this level that really shocked me is that Classic Sonic can get a skateboard. Yeah, a skateboard right now. Like, look at this. This is so cool. Like, wow. Like, I am shocked of how good this is. Like, how does this game not have DLC? I mean, it's just so amazing how good this level is and how this whole game is. And I mean, we're not going to talk about Shadow Generations in this video, but I just want to mention how good that game is too. I mean, that game's been getting a lot of praise, but we'll get to that in that review, okay? Don't worry. Also, another thing I want to say about these two games, which I'm talking about Sonic Generations and Shadow Generations, is that these games take place at the same exact time. I mean, if they can make a crossover game with, like, Shadow with completely different gameplay and stuff like that than Sonic Generations, why can't there be a Sonic X Silver Unleashed or Sonic X Silver Lost World? And yes, I know Silver was in neither of those games, so they can't really do that, but I mean, it would have been cool to see what Silver was up to, since he hasn't really been a main character for, like, since Sonic 06, I guess. And I guess Sonic Rivals because, well, that was the first time seeing each other in a Sonic game after Sonic 06 since the timeline was erased. And yes, he was also in Sonic Forces, but he got like one scene where he was fighting Infinite, but then Sonic was the one to take him down, so he didn't really do that much in that game either. Even though, I mean, they introduced a lot of characters in that game, but they didn't really do much with them. But that's besides the point though, okay? We'll get to that in the Sonic Forces review. But anyways, for the modern Sonic level for City Escape, this level is pretty good, but to me, it kind of feels empty a little bit. It doesn't really feel that original, and you're probably like, well, this game's supposed to take stuff from Sonic's past and, well, make them better. And yes, that's true, but I mean, the City Escape original level is pretty good, but since they're just doing the same thing here, it doesn't really feel that different. Like, Classic Sonic level had the gun truck chasing Classic Sonic the whole entire time. And yes, obviously Classic Sonic never went through City Escape yet, but I mean, it's cool that they did something different with him. But for modern Sonic, they kind of just did the same thing over again, and the ending part where the gun truck chases Sonic is a lot more boring because you just kind of quick step for like a whole minute and you don't really do anything in this part. But it is a lot cooler though, because instead of just like running from it, spin dashing it, you just boost, and you can also at some points at near the end, you can't just randomly do it, but you can go on the wall and run on it, which is a pretty cool setup for this, because I mean, it was a little boring in the original. It wasn't really that like crazy, but it has a bunch of chainsaws And it's just really crazy though. So it's a lot more interesting here. I mean, it's not too long, but I mean, it could have been better, but it's okay though with what we got though. It's still not bad at all though. It's still fun. Now for Seaside Hill Classic, and this level is okay. I mean, I don't really know what to really say about it. I mean, it's just a level, underwater level for Classic Sonic, but it is a lot easier to, well, avoid the water in this level. But I don't like how you make one mistake in the beginning of the level and then you have to go underwater for most of it. I just really don't like that because you could literally just restart the level. And also, another thing I would like to say that was in the 2011 version and not here, which I'm glad about, is that every time you restart the level, you actually lose a life. Yeah, I know. That was in the original game, and I don't know if it's still here, because, I mean, they removed lives, but I think there's an option to have them, but I'm not 100% sure, though. But I think that was pretty dumb back then. I'm surprised nobody has complained about that, and it was really annoying for me to speedrun, because there's no time attack in the original game, so you can't really just restart like that. So it's an improvement here while there's no like lives and stuff. I'm happy that there's no lives because that was really annoying. And also in this level, you can kind of see how weird the momentum is in this game, because everyone always said in this game for Classic Sonic that his physics were really weird, because in the classic games there were like the rewards was, well, getting speed, but now it's just kind of getting through the level now, because you can literally do an instant spin dash, which is pretty cool though. But I mean, it's not the same as the classic games though, but I mean, it's not a big deal, to be honest. I just want to have fun in the games. I don't really care if they're just like the classic games, to be honest. And as I was saying though, when you go underwater, like you're running down a slope, sometimes your momentum slows you down and you can jump way higher underwater. And when you have Supersonic, you can literally jump extremely high underwater. I mean, I still don't really like 100% know if they like really fix the physics, because from what I can tell, they're just the exact same from the original generations. They didn't really change like their problems. But I mean, they're just trying to like show players the same magic that the 2011 version did, and that's perfectly fine. There's no need to be changes in an already good game. But for the pick though, I think they could have done better, because I can name a bunch of other Sonic Hero levels that are better than Seaside Hill, like Grand Metropolis, Final Fortress, or for a grass level, maybe like Frog Forest. Like, there's so many better levels in that game, so I don't get why they picked Seaside Hill, which is a reskin of Green Hill Zone, but, well, on the beach, which is pretty dumb, though. It's like, I mean, Emerald Coast would be a fine pick, because there's no grass at all in that level, I don't think. I mean, actually, I do think there was a little bit of grass, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But here, it's just a bunch of grass everywhere, and it literally looks the same. But, I mean, it's not a big deal, since the stage is really good. For the Modern Act, this stage is so open, and it's really good. But I still just can't get over the pick, though. I mean, there's a lot better stages than this, and yes, I know I said this earlier, but I just really wish there were just a different stage. I mean, it is a good design stage, so I can't really complain that much. But, I mean, I feel like they could have done so much better here, though. And yes, there is a handheld version of this game, which is called Sonic Generations 3DS, which I already reviewed, but I'm just gonna say that they could have literally had a stage in that, because, I mean, there's Sonic Adventure 1 and then Sonic Adventure 2, but in this, there was no stage from Sonic Heroes, so no representation from Sonic Heroes. But there was a Sonic Heroes boss, which was kind of weird to not have a stage from there. I mean, I can understand from Metal Sonic, since there's supposed to be 3 games, and it would be weird if they fixed Sonic CD for, well, the 3rd game. But, I mean, Sonic CD took place between Sonic 1 and 2, so, I mean, technically it would go before Sonic 2, but that's not the point right now, though. I just kind of wish they could have done better with the stage pick, because I really don't like them just using another green hill basically, but basically like on a beach. Also, you can literally go on a go-kart in this stage. And this is so fun. Even if the section is short, it's still really fun. Like, this stage is really dang good. It would have been absolutely perfect if it had a good Sonic Heroes pick. But, I mean, it's not that big of a deal. As long as the stage is fun, as long as the game is fun, then I really like it. But, this stage is not exactly perfect, because near the end, kind of, there's this 2D section, which is fine. I don't like really think that's a big deal or that it's bad. But the thing is that they decided to put a bunch of water in this section, and there's some bottomless pits there, and I find that to be pretty annoying, because I don't get why they would put an underwater section for modern Sonic. I mean, I can understand for classic Sonic, because it was in those games, but you don't remember in Sonic Unleashed where you just randomly go into a water section. Like, it just felt kind of annoying. And plus, this was also in Chemical Plant too, but it wasn't that bad there though. It's just a little water section, and you can just boost up there too. And yes, you can do that too here, but it's just a lot harder because there's a lot more water all over the place. Like, I only think they picked this was because they literally just wanted a water level or something. Like, it's just so dumb though. But anyways, there's a shadow fight, and this fight is really dang fun. Like, fighting Shadow just like you did in Sonic Adventure 2, it's just so fun with the boost gameplay. And this fight just feels like a race though. And yes, I know the 3DS version also did that, but unlike that game, this one's a lot more fun and a lot more interesting than that game was, or that fight was. Also, in Sonic X Shadow Generations, you can literally see Shadow's perspective of that fight, and in canon, Sonic actually wins the fight. And it's kind of sad that we couldn't actually play it in, well, Shadow Generations, but I mean, it would make sense because in canon, Sonic actually won the fight. But what's different in Shadow's perspective is that he switched the emeralds, so Sonic got a fake emerald instead. And I know they did that just to make it make sense, like a good compromise. And yeah, it's perfectly fine what they did with that. I mean, maybe it's going to be a Sonic X Silver Generations in the future that could help us see Silver's perspective of the whole thing. But in opinion, that fight in Shadow Generations was pretty good. The cutscene, it looks really good. The whole game looks really good, but I just want to say I don't know why they didn't use the Sonic Generations model. Maybe that's because it was two different engines, and the Frontiers model was like the last model they used for Sonic, so I guess that makes sense. But I mean, it would have been cool to actually see like a Sonic Generations skin instead of the Frontier skin. It would make a lot more sense. Anyways, the next boss is Perfect Chaos from Sonic Adventure. The thing I hear about this boss a lot is that this boss is basically a level, and I really disagree with that statement. I mean, it's like an obstacle course, basically. It's not a level, because there's literally a boss you have to attack, and you could say that this is basically a level with a boss in the background, but that doesn't really make sense either. It's just some obstacles. You can't really call it a level. But you know what? Let's just take a break from that, and let's talk about the story. And you're probably asking, what story? Because this game doesn't really have that much of a story. I mean, it has a plot where, like, the Time Eater is trying to, like, destroy time or something, and it's up to Sonic and his friends to save the whole world or something. And it's not really that interesting, to be honest, because most of the cutscenes, the characters are just standing there, not really doing much, and I can't really, like, compliment the story, because it doesn't really, like, like they put a lot of effort into it, but the gameplay is still good. But because, well, who cares about the story? The gameplay is the most important part of the game. Let's be honest. But I'll just explain a little bit of the story, because Classic Sonic gets kidnapped, kind of, like in Green Hills. He's just chilling in Green Hills, but then this random Time Eater comes in, and then, well, swoops him right into lost time, like a white void. And the same thing happened with modern Sonic too, but his friends also got, well, kidnapped too, basically, so he has to save all of them in a bunch of levels from Sonic's past, which is pretty cool an idea, but in execution, they could have done a little bit more of the story, to be honest. And also, the remastered version of Sonic Generations got a rewrite on the story with the dialogue, and people say it's not really that good, and some text, like, yeah, I can understand that, because some of the dialogue doesn't really make sense to change, and yeah, I can kind of agree, but it's not really that bad, to be honest, though. Anyways, now we're going to talk about Classic Crisis City, and this is a pretty challenging level. This is probably one of the hardest levels in the whole game, and to be honest, though, I feel like this era was supposed to be, like, way harder than all the other levels, but then I feel like at Rooftop Run they decided maybe they shouldn't go that route. But for Crisis City, both Classic and Modern Sonic, their stages are pretty hard here. I mean, I wouldn't say they're like crazy, like off the rails like Sonic Unleashed, but I mean, it's still pretty difficult platforming and stuff. Now we're going to talk about the pick, and this pick is actually pretty good. I think Crisis City is a good one to pick from Sonic 06. But I mean, they could have picked White Acropolis or Flame Core. Those are two good levels from Sonic 06. Or maybe Dusty's Desert, maybe, because I don't think there's a sand level in either versions of Sonic Generations. I don't remember any levels that are desert related. I mean, there's sand, but not really like a desert theme level, you know? The only reason why I said Crisis City isn't the best pick was because, like, I feel like that's more of a Silver level than a Sonic level. Because this is Silver City in, like, the future, and I don't really know how this is really related to Sonic, though. I mean, Sonic did go through it, though, so you can call this like a Sonic stage, but all the Hedgehogs went through it in Sonic 06, so you can't really say that this is like a Sonic or just like a Silver stage. Shadow also went through this, and I don't know why. It just, like, once they make Sonic X Silver Generations, like, I don't know what level they're gonna pick from, though. Like, just in general, this level feels really complex, really interesting. And yeah, I just really like this level. Like, I like how difficult it is. Like, I like how it really gives you a challenge and stuff. But there's this one section at the end of the level, and this is crazy, but the gold plate literally flies away, and you have to chase it in like a tornado or something. Like, this section is so dang cool. Like, this is not even in the original Crisis City. I mean, maybe because the game was rushed, but we don't talk about that right now. Like, it's so cool, though. Like, wow, like, they really did a lot for Classic Sonic, even though Classic Sonic hasn't even visited this place yet. And the remix sounds really good, and it has this, like, retro beat to it for, like, all the classic Sonic songs. Like, it sounds modern, but it's, like, more retro and classic, like, in the 90s. And it just sounds so good. Like, dang, they got everything. Yeah, most things right about this game. It's just so good. And the other good thing is modern Sonic here in, well, Crisis City. And this stage is actually really cool, too. It's basically a challenge like the classic version, where they didn't go easy on you with this one. And I thought the classic remix was good, but here it just sounds so nice, And obviously, since it's modern Sonic, it's gonna have those rock beats and stuff. It just, oh my goodness, they got basically everything right about this game. Like, oh my goodness, this game is so good. Oh my goodness. But this level kind of suffers from the, like, stomp at the end where you have to, like, stomp on these, like, platforms for them to go down. And I find that part to be pretty annoying because, well, like, I don't think that should be a good use for the stomp ability. I mean, I guess they want to see, like, what it's capable of or something. But, I mean, it's not really that fun to do and to replay if they're just gonna do that. But the thing I really like about this level is the end of the level where there's the speed section and it's like basically a recreation of it from Sonic 06 because the one from Sonic 06, like all the speed sections from Sonic 06 were really bad. So I'm really glad that they actually did something better here because that game was all over the place, but let's not talk about that for right now. Maybe we should save that for an actual review of Sonic 06. But I really like the speed section though. Anyways, now for Rooftop Run for Classic Sonic. To be honest though, if you like platforming, you're probably gonna really like this level. And even though I'm not the biggest fan of platforming, this level is still pretty good though. And I just really like how this level looks. Like, I mean, I know I already said that about the whole entire game, but this level is a really good looking level. But I feel like there's a lot more spikes everywhere in this level than all the other classic levels. Maybe that's just me, but I don't know though. But this level is still fun to go through around, and yeah, this level is definitely not bad. I really like how they like emphasize like the platforming in this level. Oh, and another thing I like to talk about is that in this game, you can actually play Sonic 1 in, like, the Sonic 1, section of the hub world. Like, you can actually play it. I mean, I don't think you can play it in the remastered version, but in the 2011 version, I'm pretty sure you can play it. And it's the exact Sonic 1 from 1991, so that's pretty cool. And another thing I would like to say about the skins in this game is that you can actually play as Sonic Jam Sonic for Classic Sonic, and then you can play as Dreamcast Sonic for Modern Sonic. And I think that is really cool for the skin ideas and stuff. And let me tell you guys a fact about Dreamcast Sonic. So Dreamcast Sonic was originally going to be a playable character in this game, but was cut due to Ryan Drummond refusing to record voice lines for Dreamcast Sonic. And that is pretty crazy though. I mean, it would have been cool spin dashing along the levels in 3D. That would have been so cool. Anyways, for Rooftop Run for Classic Sonic, I'm pretty sure that this underground section here is from the Werehog section for Rooftop Run Night. And I think that's a pretty cool reference for Classic Sonic, even though, I mean, obviously he didn't even visit this place yet. And plus, near the end of the level, Classic Sonic literally goes to the clock just like the Werehog, which is another cool reference. And these are literally both the playstyles for Boost Sonic, and that's just really cool, and I really like it. Okay, now for Modern Rooftop Run, and this is one of my favorite modern levels in the whole entire game. And you might be wondering, why is this your favorite modern level in the whole game, or one of your favorite modern levels? Well, that's because this level is supposed to be based on like a Sonic Unleashed level, and Sonic Unleashed modern levels were really dang good. The boost gameplay in that game was so good, and here, oh my goodness, if every level was like this would be too good. Like, this would be amazing. I genuinely really like the design of this level. It is so good. Every single section in this level is so good. And I just have so much fun with this. And yeah, I already know I said that like at least 30 times in the last like minute or something, but this level is just so fun. And there's actually a section where you actually run on a clock tower and then you grind down it. And it's just so good. Like, you can literally see how good this game looks, even in the 2011 version. Even though this level is obviously not as long as the Sonic Unleashed level, it's still good fun and really good designed. But I kind of do wish it was as long as that level. Wouldn't that be better though, to have like a long level like Sonic Unleashed? Since this level is from Sonic Unleashed, wouldn't that make more sense, considering the original Rooftop Run was way longer than this? I don't know if I already talked about the pick for Sonic Unleashed. Maybe I did. Just tell me in the comments if I already did. But Rooftop Run's a pretty good level to pick from Sonic Unleashed. But I feel like Dragon Road would have been a better level than Rooftop Run, because that level looked so cool and all the themes in that level was just so good. And the level design in that level is also really cool and good. But Rooftop Run's level design is really good too, so I guess that's why they picked it. And also in Sonic Unleashed, the reaction time gameplay was a really cool idea, and they kind of did it here, but I mean, it was a lot easier than that game, so it wasn't really designed like that game. It can be in sometimes in this level, but not all the time though. But the level design is still good, just like I said. And at the end, there's also this big quick step section, and this section is meh, to be honest though. I mean, you have to attack the badniks for rings to spill out, so I guess that's a cool objective than just like turning lanes and stuff. Okay, now we're gonna talk about Planet Wisp. Oh no. So the classic level is, I don't really know what to say about this level, to be honest. To be honest, in this video, I kind of didn't really know what to really talk about with the classic levels. And that's because they're just 2D Sonic levels that you can spin dash around and stuff. There isn't like really that much to talk about. But for modern levels, there are a lot cooler things you can talk about in those levels. So that's why I kind of been a little bit avoiding the classic levels, or well, talking about the classic levels though. But the classic levels are not bad. They're really cool. They're definitely better than the Werehog. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Spike Wisp. And the reason we're going to talk about that is because that's the Wisp classic Sonic uses here in Sonic Generations, so we're going to talk about it. And I'm not 100%, I'm pretty sure that's the name, the Spike Wisp. I'm pretty sure that's the name. But correct me in the comments if I got that wrong. So the Wisp is the exact same way used in Sonic Colors, and that's perfectly fine. But the way you use it with classic Sonic is that this is 2D, and even though Sonic Colors was mostly 2D most of the time, at least it had some 3D sections where you can actually use the Wisp in 3D. But here, it's all in 2D, which I don't want classic Sonic turning 3D randomly, but here it feels a lot more janky and stuff, and it just doesn't really feel that good. And the thing is that Wisp were literally optional in Sonic Colors, so I don't get why they did it here. I mean, maybe they did it just to make the game more interesting or something, but you didn't even have to use them in the original Sonic Colors, so I don't get why they're forcing us to do over here. But let's talk about some positives about this level, and yes, that's surprising, there are positives about this level. And the positives I want to say is that this level looks really dang gorgeous. Like, I mean, I did play the Sonic X Shadow Generations version more than the original one a little bit, but it just looks so good. I know I said this the whole entire video, but everything about this game looks so good. I just can't get over it. Every single stage looks good. And in the factory setting, it looks really good. And sometimes the camera actually zooms out to get a better look at the level because it just looks so good. Okay, back to negatives. I just really get tired of doing the same thing every single time in this level. You have to keep using the Wisp over and over again. And I don't think that's what players over here should be remembering about Sonic Colors. Because Sonic Colors, even though it had some problems, it was still a good game. But another thing I'd like to clear up is that there are no special stages in this game. You just kind of just go get the emeralds throughout the whole game. So you just play the game and then you get the emeralds. So there's no special stages here. But the 3DS version actually does have some special stages. And like I said in my original Sonic Generations 3DS video, the special stage isn't really that bad. It's actually pretty cool, actually. But anyways, back to the classic Sonic stage of Planet Wisp. I just don't really think the stage is really that good. And this stage goes on for so long. And it's just really not that good. But for modern Sonic, the beginning of the stage is really dang good. Like, it's so fun in the beginning, and it's just so good, you know? Like, it's great running around in the grass, and it just looks so good. Even the 2011 version, which already looks good, like, this level looks really good. I know I said that a billion times in this video, but it's really true. This game is just really good, and I don't even know how they even managed to make a game this good. And as I was saying about the beginning of the stage, you're grinding through rails, going through, well, the wilderness and stuff in Planet Wisp, and it's just really amazing. And you're probably like, well, where's the Wisp at? And we'll get to that, don't worry. But it's pretty fun in the beginning, though. But once you see your first 2D section, then it starts going down from there. Or once you get to the factory setting, because we're gonna talk about it, definitely, because they definitely did not do good here. And the reason why I said that was because they have you doing the Rocket Wisp, which is the Wisp that modern Sonic uses in this level. It's not really that fun, to be honest, because they have you using this Wisp a lot throughout this level. And it may seem pretty cool to be using, like, Wisp for, like, just one general level, though. But in execution, they could have done so much better. To be honest, though, I feel like they were trying to make the stage, like, really big and just really fun. But then they started rushing because Sonic Colors did come 1 year before this game came out. So I feel like they were rushing a little bit, and they decided to put a lot more 2D sections for modern Sonic and a lot more, like, platforming, I guess, to, like, make it slower so they'll make it, like, look like the level is longer, when in general it's just not fun. And it just, maybe they could have, like, delayed it, but they couldn't really do that because this is supposed to be an anniversary game, so it had to come out in 2011. So I can definitely understand why they rushed there. I'm not saying the Rocket Wisp is bad, but they could have picked up a bunch of better Wisp from Sonic Colors. For Classic Sonic, I can understand because they literally had one where you can spin dash, and since Classic Sonic literally has the spin dash ability, it would make a lot more sense. But for modern Sonic, maybe they could have done the Laser Wisp or something. I mean, yeah, I know it was in the Sonic Generations 3DS version, so I guess they couldn't really pick from there. But I can definitely see better Wisp in the Rocket Wisp that was chosen for, well, modern Sonic's Wisp ability. For example, they could have done the Drill or Hover. Like, that would have been so cool to see in, like, Sonic Generations. Or maybe they could have used all the Wisp for modern Sonic, because, I mean, they could have just done a bunch in one level, and they could have, like, done something crazy out of it instead of just one Wisp. Anyways, we're gonna talk about the missions in this game, because this game has missions, and they're supposed to pad out the game a little bit, because this game is really short. Like, just for the levels, you can beat this game in, like, 30 minutes with just the levels. But I guess they added the missions to like pad it out, but it isn't really that bad. You just need to play one mission per like a world or a zone or something, and it isn't really that big of a deal because the missions are probably one of the best in the series because they are really good ideas in here that are just really nice to see in this, and it goes to show how much love and creativity was done with this game. I know there's only one mission that you have to play for each zone, but there's extra missions around the map, and most of them are either you playing against a friend or teaming up against a friend. And these are pretty cool and fun, and they did a really good job with them. Except for the Vector mission in Rooftop Run. That one really sucked because for that one you have to homing attack this like music beat thing, and it gets a lot faster, and I guess it's supposed to like get harder, but isn't really hard. It's just like annoying to play because it just isn't fun, and when I play video games I want to have fun. And also in some of the levels, there like are different backgrounds sometimes. Like in Sky Sanctuary, there's like a night background and it looks really, and I mean really good. And I'm talking about the missions, not the actual levels. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to have like a night background in the levels? That would be kind of cool. But anyways, for the Silver fight, I think this fight is really cool. I mean, Silver wasn't even a big character until this game. Well, he doesn't really have a big role in this game. He's just kind of a boss, but I mean, he has a bigger role than like most of the other games, except for Sonic Rivals. He had a bigger role in that game than any games now. I mean, imagine if they had a year of Silver. Wouldn't that be cool? So this fight doesn't take place in Soleanna just like in Sonic 06. It takes place in Crisis City, which is Silver's future world, and it's pretty cool though. I mean, it would have been cooler to see Soleanna, but I mean, Crisis City is still good. I mean, it was already a stage, so they could have just picked assets from there, so it's not that big of a deal. But the fight itself is pretty good, but I mean, sometimes this fight can be a little annoying where you have to run out of boost, but I mean, it's more of a skill thing, so I won't make a big deal about that. Silver is the most powerful he's ever been because he's throwing cars at you and you have to homing attack on them in order to hit him, and he's throwing spears at you. It's just so crazy. This fight is really cool, and I'm surprised that they haven't given Silver this kind of spotlight in years, because I mean, he was in Sonic Forces, but he barely even did anything in that game. I mean, he wasn't like completely useless, but I mean, basically he was, because he didn't even have a big role in that game. He was just there. I mean, yeah, he did fight Infinite, but that was really it, to be honest, though. He didn't do much, like I said. But near the end, Silver throws this big pile of trash at you that's like chasing you at the second, and it is really crazy to see how powerful Silver actually is. Like, this is just crazy. Like, I mean, most of the time I run out of boost before this section, so I can't really like boost that much during this, but this fight is really cool. But then we go to this fight from Sonic Unleashed. I actually forgot what it was called, but we don't talk about that. Anyways, this fight is not the best in my opinion. I mean, this is probably the most forgettable fight in the game in my opinion, behind the time meter, but we'll talk about the time meter soon, okay? Don't worry. The reason why I don't like this fight as much is because you can't really like hit it at your own pace, because most of the other fights in this game, you can hit it like whenever you want, well, for some of the times. And even when you couldn't do that, it was still fun. But here, Eggman's saying the same 3 lines every second. Like, it's just really annoying. But, I'll give it some credit. This fight is probably the most like climactic in the game, because this is one of the final bosses, and it's really cool seeing Eggman in this big machine. I mean, we did see this in Sonic Unleashed, so it's not like new, but the design of it's new. And let me tell you the reason why. So the reason why I say that is because the Werehog actually fought this boss back in Sonic Unleashed, so they had to redesign it to make it work for boosting Sonic, or modern Sonic, for Sonic Generations. And mostly the objective of this boss is obviously hitting the boss, and you can hit it a lot more, but not as much as the other bosses. I really like the part where you like time travel in this part, kinda, like to a different area, and it shows like how much like the theme of this game is really like based on time travel. And I really like this falling section here because you can get a lot of hits in, and it's really fun and cool. But I mean, maybe this boss isn't the best, but it does have some good qualities to it that I really like about it. And yeah, this boss is just okay, but I mean, it's not the best though, obviously. But now we're gonna talk about the ranking. Haha, you thought. Anyways, we're gonna put Green Hill in S rank. I think this is a really good zone. And it's good design, just like the whole game. So Chemical Plant is a B for me. And the reason why I say that is because this level doesn't really like click with me, you know? And Sky Sanctuary is obviously an A. It's not perfect, but it's really good. Speed Highway is obviously an S tier for me. I really like this level. So City Escape is an A for me. I mean, it's not perfect. Maybe a B, but it's not the best though. It's okay at the end of the day. Seaside Hill is a B for me because I feel like the water sections can get a little annoying after a while, and it's not the best. And Crisis City is a B for me. It's not really fun to replay in my opinion. I mean, it's not the worst definitely. It's definitely not the worst in my opinion. And then Rooftop Run is an easy S, no questions asked. And then Planet Wisp. This one was really hard to decide. And for me, C. I mean, it's definitely not the worst designed. It's not like badly designed where I hated it. It's just kind of boring in my opinion. But now we're going to talk about the Time Eater. Whew, finally. It all comes down to this final battle. So this fight, as I said before, is not good. But this fight isn't like bad to the point where it's like unplayable. Because you could barely even get the rings in this fight, but I haven't really seen anyone talk about this fight in depth, so I'm gonna do that. So, during this fight, you have the option to switch between Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic. And when you switch to Modern Sonic, it's going to be in 3D, but once you switch to Classic Sonic, it's going to be in 2D. And it's going to be outside of the time warp thing, like the purple thing. And second of all, this fight looks really cool. Like, you're time traveling in a different dimension. Like, that is so cool. Like, this part just looks so good. Because most of the time I just see people calling this a bad boss, but just look around. There's so much to see and do. But, I mean, the controls of this fight, like, feel a lot more stiffer, because when you try and move around and boost as Modern Sonic, it kind of feels, like, stiff. Like, it feels like you're slowly moving, but you're not moving that much, if you know what I mean. But this fight isn't really very fun. I think this fight just boring. And it's not hard or anything, it's just boring in my opinion. Like, the way this boss works is really weird in my opinion. Because, like, Sonic's friends don't ever stop talking in this fight. They keep saying, oh, there's a homing shot and stuff like that. And I just really get annoyed by that. Like, I can't even give you guys any tips on anything because there isn't really like a way that you can really beat this. You just boost forward the whole time and then you win. So it's basically boost to win basically. And it's not that fun. And I'm pretty sure that this boss was rushed because Planet Wisp was, as y'all know, not a good zone in my opinion. Or, well, a lot of people's opinions. And this fight is not good, in my opinion. But maybe they were trying to rush these things because, well, they had to release it in 2011 since it was the 20th anniversary. So they couldn't really delay it. It just had to come out that year. I'm not saying it was rushed or anything, but I feel like it was, because the ending part of the game was not good. And also, I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention this, but Sonic's friends are like, every time like you complete like a whole zone with Modern Sonic and Classic Sonic, you will save them from, well, space and stuff. And I mean, that's pretty cool to have like a real objective to save Sonic's friends and stuff. And yeah, that's pretty cool. But this is the final goodbye, because this is the end of the video. So I hope you have an amazing day. Please subscribe, because this video took me a while to make. So goodbye and have a good day. Bye.